The Silent Cemetery. The sky above the alien colony was dark purple, with two moons shining faintly behind the drifting clouds. A cold wind whispered through the broken trees and the dead grass that covered the ground. Far away from the main settlement stood an old cemetery where no voices were heard. Only the wind spoke here, and a mother cried. Her name was Lixa. Her skin was soft blue and shimmered under the moonlight like glass. She wore a worn-out cloak that dragged behind her as she knelt in front of a small grave. The dirt was still fresh. A glowing stone sat at the top, where a name was carved in a gentle alien script. Aelri. Her child. She did not move for a long time. Her eyes were swollen and dry. She had no more tears to give. She had screamed before begged the stars, cursed the council, blamed the humans. Now she only whispered things. No one could hear. A soft crunch behind her made her ears flick. But she did not turn. She did not care anymore. Captain Rowan had never seen a place like this. He had come to the edge of the colony because his ship needed fuel and rest. He followed the noise of the wind and saw her. The figure of an alien woman bent in grief, and something in his chest stopped moving. He stood silently for a while, not sure if he should speak. His boots crushed some dry leaves. The woman did not look back. Rowan took a slow step forward. Then another. And then he saw the grave. The glowing stone. And the name. He could not read the script. But he knew what this place was, and he knew the weight of silence. She finally spoke, her voice low and rough like dry sand. "You're late." Her words cut through the air. Rowan said nothing. He just listened. She turned her head slightly. Her face was hollow, her eyes sunken, but still sharp. Sharp enough to cut his soul open. "Do you know what disease took her?" she asked. He shook his head. "Something you humans cured decades ago," she said. "A simple treatment. A small shot. But we were blocked. No medicine. No visitors. Only silence." Rowan took a step closer. "Why?" he asked quietly. She stood up slowly, her body thin from hunger and grief. "Because we were not important. The council said our world was too small. Not strategic. Not worth the resources. And you." She looked at him now with eyes full of old fire. "You humans agreed." Rowan's mouth opened, but no words came. He had not known. He was just a captain, a traveler. He had no orders to block anything, but it did not matter. Because to her, he wore the face of those who let her daughter die. She walked past him, and for a moment he wanted to leave. Just go back to his ship. Forget this place. Forget her pain. Forget her words. But he turned back to the grave, and something inside him refused to move. He sat beside the grave quietly. He did not speak. He just placed his helmet beside him and looked at the stars. Lixa noticed. She did not stop walking, but she slowed, and her ears twitched slightly. The human did not speak false words, did not say sorry, just to feel better. He simply sat. And that somehow was louder than any apology. Far in the distance, a broken sign near the entrance of the colony moved in the wind. Dust covered the words, but if cleaned, it would say, "Welcome to Sereth." A peaceful place. But peace had left long ago. Only graves remained, and now one human sat quietly beside one of them. Not out of duty. Not because of orders, but because something inside him had changed. Rowan stared at the name on the grave. He could not read it, but in that moment he swore he would find out what happened here. He would learn her story, and maybe, just maybe he could do something about it behind him. Lixa paused on the path. She did not look back, but her voice came softer now. Do you really want to know what they did? He nodded, without turning his head. Then come tomorrow. She said, I will tell you, but be ready. Because once you know, you will never forget. Then she walked into the shadows, and the wind grew still. Only the soft hum of the glowing gravestone remained, flickering, gently in the dark, and Rowan knew this was just the beginning. A question no human should hear. Morning came slowly to the dusty skies of Sareth. The twin suns rose behind the broken cliffs and lit the colony in a pale orange glow. But the cemetery remained quiet, like it did not care about the light. Captain Rowan stood near the same grave. He had not slept. He had waited. Lixa arrived without sound. Her cloak moved gently in the wind. She walked up the path and stopped beside him. Her eyes were calm now, but something deep in them still burned. You stayed, she said simply. He nodded. I said, I would. He replied, I want to understand. I want to hear it from you. Lixa stared at him for a long time. Then she pointed toward the mountains in the distance. Walk with me, she said. It began over there. They walked in silence. Dry leaves cracked under their feet. Once this land had been green. The colony had farms and schools and children laughing in the sun. Now it was quiet and empty because of one decision, made far away. They reached an old watchtower. It leaned to one side. Rust covered the walls. Lixa opened the broken door and led Rowan inside. Dust hung in the air. Old screens blinked. One of them showed medical requests from years ago. Denied, denied, denied. She tapped on one file. It opened. The screen showed a small alien girl. Her skin a lighter blue than Lixa's big bright eyes, and a weak smile. Her name, Aelri. Lixa. Rowan stared. That's your daughter? He asked. Lixa nodded slowly. She got sick when the fever came through the lower villages. We asked for help, not just from the council, but from Earth too, because we knew your people had cured it. She paused. But they said our request had low priority. We were not on the list. Rowan frowned. Why not? What list? Lixa looked straight at him now. Because we are poor. Because we do not have resources. Earth wants because helping us does not make Earth richer or stronger. So we waited and she died. The silence hit Rowan harder than any words. He stepped back from the screen. His hands clenched. He had been a soldier for Earth's peacekeeping corps. He had believed in protecting the weak. But now he felt like a part of something cruel. Lixa walked over to a shelf. She picked up a small toy, a stone bird with wings carved by hand. Aelri made this while she was still strong. She wanted to fly one day. Her dream was to see Earth's forests. Rowan sat down. The chair creaked under him. What can I do? He asked. I cannot bring her back, but I can try to fix something. Tell me what you need. Lixa looked at him without blinking. Do you really want to know what they did? He nodded. Then listen carefully. She told him about the blockade. The council said there was a virus threat. No ships allowed, in or out. But it was not a virus. It was politics. The colony leaders had spoken against the council's mining laws, so they punished everyone. Earth agreed to stay silent. Some humans protested. Some doctors tried to come. But all were stopped. Except for one ship. Lixa's eyes narrowed. A medical ship broke the rule. Once it came to the northern part of the colony. They saved children, brought vaccines. But they left before reaching us. Rowan felt a strange pull in his mind. Do you remember the ship's name? He asked, Lixa opened another file. The log showed the ship. Its name, Solace 12. Rowan stared at it. His breath slowed. That was my first assignment. He whispered. Lixa's eyes turned sharp. Then you were there. You left us behind. Rowan stood. No, I was just a trainee. I followed orders. We left because we were told to. We didn't know there were more children waiting, but the damage was done. Lixa stepped back, her voice shaking. You could have asked. You could have searched. He felt like the ground under him had vanished. He remembered the mission. A quick medical run. No time to spare. They landed. Helped. And left. But now he knew. They had landed too close. And still missed the dying girl. I want to fix this. He said again. I will find the full report. I will expose what happened. Even if Earth hates me for it. Lixa looked at him for a long moment. Then she placed the toy bird in his hand. Then begin. She said softly. Find the truth. Let others hear it. Make sure Elry's name is not forgotten. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the sound of distant voices. But inside the broken tower, a human and an alien stood side by side, bound not by blood but by loss. And somewhere far above in the stars truth waited, and it was no longer quiet. The Forbidden Files. Captain Rowan sat alone in his ship as it hovered in low orbit above the colony. The hum of the engine was the only sound inside, but his mind was louder than ever. He stared at the console in front of him, hesitating one command, away from breaking the rules. He had promised Lixa he would find the truth, but accessing Earth's protected files meant digging into military records, breaking trust, risking prison. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small stone bird the toy Elry had carved. It felt warm in his hand, as if it still held the girl's last wish. With a deep breath, he opened the system, typed his old access code. The screen blinked red. Restricted, he tried again using a backdoor channel taught to him long ago during training. His screen flickered, then opened. Dozens of folders appeared. Mission logs, ship activity, medical relief actions. He searched the name. Solace 12. There it was. The mission to Sareth Colony. 5 years ago. Rowan clicked into it. His heart pounded. Images filled the screen. Photos of children treated, names of settlements visited, and then a list of denied zone. 12 marked hostile risk. No landing approved. He remembered Zone 12. It was the area closest to Lixa's home. He clicked again. A smaller file appeared, marked confidential. His hands trembled. He opened it. Inside was a message log between command and the ship captain at the time. The order was clear. Do not extend mission to Zone 12. Too close. To political rebel zones. Avoid attention. Return after scheduled help. No mention of sick children. No mention of scanning for survivors. Just cold orders. Rowan sat back. His breath heavy. Then he saw another note. A personal message, signed by Admiral. Riken. Rowan knew the name well. His mentor. His teacher. The man who taught him to protect life above all. The message read, do not interfere with council politics. Save who you can, but remember who signs your paycheck. Rowan's face grew pale. Had followed this man blindly for years. He believed in his cause. Now he saw the truth. They had let Elry die because it was easier, because her life did not fit into their plan. He couldn't sit anymore. He stood and paced the small cabin. All this time. He thought he was helping people, saving lives. But now he saw the cost of silence. He looked at the toy again. Its wings chipped, its eyes carved with care. That little girl had dreams. And no one listened. He opened a new channel, encrypted its scent, the files to a private server hidden protected. Then he sent a message to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Dr. Linaria, journalist who once exposed a medical scandal in the colonies. She trusted no one. But maybe she'd listen now. Message sent. He grabbed his jacket, headed to the ship's door. But it wouldn't open. Red light blinked above him. External lock engaged. Incoming vessel. Rowan rushed to the control panel. A ship was docking with his without permission. He activated the outer camera. And froze. It was Earth military. They were already here. He quickly shut off the main power, locked the file access, wiped his recent searches. He couldn't let them know what he found. The ship rumbled as the Earth vessel connected. A voice came over the comms. Captain Rowan, this is Command. Alpha 2. You are ordered to stand down and prepare for inspection, he replied calmly. Copy that. Opening hatch, his voice didn't shake, but his fingers were tight on the console. 2 officers entered. Both wore black suits, with no insignia. That meant intelligence. They didn't smile. One of them spoke. You've been digging where you shouldn't. You accessed restricted medical files. Why, Rowan shrugged, just looking at old logs memories. I was there on that mission. The officer narrowed his eyes. That girl's name, Ailri Lixa, means something to you. Rowan didn't flinch. I met her mother. Didn't know she existed before that. The officer stepped closer. Then forget her. For your own good. Rowan stared back. Can't do that. The other officer looked at the table. Saw the stone bird. Picked it up. What's this? Rowan snatched it from his hand. That's none of your business. The man smiled slightly. It is now. They left without saying more, but their message was clear. Back off, or pay the price. When the door closed, Rowan sat down slowly. The toy bird in his palm. They knew they were watching, but he didn't feel fear anymore. He felt anger. They could threaten him. Follow him. Try to scare him. But he had something they couldn't. Stop. The truth. And now he had to decide what to do with it. He looked out the window. Toward the stars. He knew exactly where he needed to go. Next, back to Sereth. To Lixa. To the place where a little girl's grave still glowed under alien skies. The ghosts of command. Captain Rowan's boots echoed on the smooth white floor of Earth's upper orbital station. Clean walls, bright lights, security cameras in every corner. This was where powerful people lived above the noise of real life. This was where decisions were made in silence while others died in forgotten places. He walked through the halls with heavy steps. In his hand, the stone bird still rested, the toy carved by a child who never had a chance to fly. He stopped in front of a door marked Private. No rank, no name. But he knew who lived behind it. Admiral Riken, retired. Still respected. Still dangerous. Rowan pressed the chime. The door opened with a quiet hiss, and the man who answered had not changed much. Gray hair. Sharp eyes, tall, frame that still stood with Command Rowan. The old man said, "Didn't expect you. I need to talk." Rowan replied, "Of course you do." Riken stepped aside and waved him in. The apartment was filled with trophies, photos of ships, medals. Glass walls showed a view of Earth far below. A perfect view for a man who never had to feel the dirt of a grave under his knees. They sat across from each other. A table between them. Riken poured 2 drinks, but Rowan didn't touch his. "You accessed the Sereth files," Riken said, not a question. "A fact," Rowan nodded. "I had to. I told you long ago. Never chase ghosts. They'll only drown you. Rowan leaned forward. You told me to protect life. You said that was the mission. But we left that girl to die. You knew you gave the order. Riken's face didn't move. You're angry. That's normal. But you still don't understand how the galaxy works. Rowan stood. No, I understand too well now. You picked who lived and who died based on politics. Not need, not hope. Just value. Riken stayed calm. Do you think saving one girl would have changed anything? You think you can fix the world with guilt? Rowan pulled out the toy, placed it on the table. She carved this. While she was sick, while she waited for help. Your help. Riken looked at it. But his eyes were cold. You're not the first soldier to lose faith, he said quietly. But I kept peace across 50 systems. I stopped wars. I made decisions that saved millions, and I buried the ones we didn't save. Rowan clenched his fists. You didn't bury them. You forgot them. Riken took a slow sip of his drink. What do you want from me? An apology. Redemption. You won't get it here. I want you to admit it. Rowan said. I want the galaxy to hear you say it. Riken chuckled. You want to leak classified files. Call it justice. Fine. Do it. They'll ignore you. They always do. Rowan leaned closer. Not this time. He turned on his wristband. A red light blinked. Recording live. Riken's eyes narrowed. Clever, but too late. A signal jammed the device. The screen went dark. Built this system. Riken said, I know every backdoor. Rowan didn't flinch. Then I'll build something louder. He turned and walked toward the door. You'll lose everything. Riken said behind him. They'll strip your rank, erase your name. Then I'll have something in common with that girl. Rowan answered without stopping. The door hissed open and the hallway swallowed him again. As he walked, he opened his secure channel. Dr. Linari had already responded. The files were safe. She was preparing a story, one that would burn across systems. But Rowan needed one more thing, proof of cover-up. A voice that mattered. He messaged an old contact, Captain Mira, from Solace 12. She was second in command during the mission, now retired, living in hiding. If anyone could confirm the truth, it was her. He sent the request coordinates, a time to meet. Then he flew back to Sereth, back to the colony that still breathed through pain, back to Lixa. She was waiting near the grave when he landed, her eyes searching his face. You saw him? She asked. Yes. Rowan replied. He doesn't regret it, but I do. He placed the toy bird back on the grave, beside the glowing stone. Then he turned to Lixa. We're not finished. The galaxy doesn't know what happened. But they will. Lixa looked up at the stars, her voice soft. Then let them hear the voice of a mother who was left behind. The wind passed through the cemetery, cold but gentle, and far above in secret channels. In forgotten servers, the truth began to rise. One voice at a time. A broken world still watches. The sky over Sereth was darker than before. Storm clouds rolled in slow and heavy. But the wind stayed quiet, as if it too was waiting. Captain Rowan stood outside the old shelter. The same broken structure where Lixa had once told him about her daughter. But today was different. Today, there were voices inside, small, shaky. Young Lixa opened the door and stepped aside. Come in, she said. You need to see what we are still hiding. Rowan stepped inside and stopped. 10 children sat on the floor, thin, sick, wrapped in old blankets. Some had rashes on their skin. Others coughed with weak lungs. One of them looked up at Rowan, his eyes wide, scared but curious. They're like Ailri, Lixa said quietly. Sick with the same fever. left, behind, like her. Rowan looked around. Where are the doctors? Where are the supplies? Lixa shook her head. We have none. We are ghosts to the galaxy. No one hears our voices. No one cares. Rowan's chest felt heavy. He thought he was chasing justice for one child. But here was the truth. It was not just Aelri. There were more. He dropped to one knee in front of a girl with pale purple eyes. What's your name? She coughed once, then said softly, Nira. He smiled. Hey Nira, I'm Rowan. You're strong. The girl smiled, back, but her lips were dry. He stood again, face set with quiet fire. I'm done waiting. He said, we're not asking any more. Lixa stepped closer. What do you mean? Rowan opened his comm device connected to his ship, started a private call. An old voice answered, rough, tired. Rowan, is that you, Captain Mira? He replied. You still owe me a favor, she laughed. I'm retired. You still calling in debts. I need you to say what happened on Sereth. Rowan said, I need your voice. Your truth. There was silence, then a deep breath. I'll do it, Mira said. It's time they remember what we were forced to leave behind. Rowan smiled. Send it. Encrypted. Dr. Lenari is waiting. He closed the call, turned to Lixa. It begins now. He lifted his wristband, activated a camera drone. It hovered silently. Above him, this is Captain Rowan, he said clearly, broadcasting from Sereth Colony. Behind me are children who were abandoned by the Council, ignored by Earth. This is not history. This is happening now. He turned the drone slowly toward the children, then toward Lixa. This is Lixa. He said her daughter died because Earth refused to help, because someone decided her life had no value. Now I ask you, do these children look like enemies? Do they look like threats? Lixa stepped forward, eyes full of quiet fire. My daughter's name was Aelri. She was 6. She loved stories about birds. She died without medicine that your worlds throw away. Her voice cracked. And still, we're here. Still begging. Still forgotten. The drone sent the feed into orbit to Lenari's network. To every ally they had left. To every stranger willing to watch, within hours. The footage reached outer colonies, then inner ones, then Earth, and slowly, the silence began to break. Messages came in. A healer from Varka Prime offering medicine, a group of students on Terra 7 raising credits for vaccines. Even a doctor on Earth asking how to help. Rowan watched the feed in silence. His eyes shining, but his face calm. He turned to Lixa. They're listening finally. She nodded. But they're also watching. And some of them won't be happy. She was right. Because in the shadows of space, a signal moved through dark channels. A new order was sent. Silence them again, before the truth grows louder. But back on Sereth, Rowan wasn't afraid anymore. He looked at the children, then at the sky. Let them come, he said softly. We're not hiding anymore. Storm rumbled in the distance. Lightning flashed across the horizon. But no one ran. No one cried. They stood together in the shelter. Aliens, a human. Children with weak lungs and strong hearts, and somewhere deep in space, the sound of their voices began to reach places where silence once ruled. The day the Council noticed, above Sereth, in the cold dark of space, a Council drone hovered silently. Its single red eye recorded everything. The children, the alien mother, and the human who refused to stay quiet. Captain. Rowan stood outside the shelter, the wind brushing against his jacket. He could see the drone in the sky, watching like a hawk made of steel. Lixa stepped beside him, her arms crossed. "They're here," she whispered. "Finally." Rowan nodded. They don't like attention. They thought no one would care. But people did care. The video had gone farther than he expected. Thousands of responses, doctors, volunteers, even politicians. One message came from a leader on Earth demanding a council investigation. Too many people were asking questions now. The council couldn't pretend anymore. So they sent a drone. Not to help, but to observe, to look for weakness. Rowan tapped his wrist device. "We stay public. No secrets. No hiding." Lixa agreed. "Let them see everything. Let them try to explain this." The children were in the field now, laying on blankets, breathing better after the medicine sent by Outer Colonies. Neera smiled. For the first time in weeks, Rowan watched her and felt hope grow inside his chest. Then his device beeped. A message encrypted from Admiral Riken. He opened it carefully. "Enough games, Rowan. Stand down. You're pulling Earth into a fire it can't escape. This is your last warning." Rowan showed the message to Lixa. She read it slowly, then looked at the sky. "Good," she said. "That means they're scared." Rowan smiled. "We're not stopping." He opened the live feed again. Faced the drone, above. "This is Captain Rowan speaking to the council. We know you're watching. You let this colony die. You blocked the medicine. You silenced the cries. But no more. Look at the children. Look at what your silence created. If you want to stop us, come down here and explain yourself." To every sick child still breathing. He ended the feed. The drone stayed in place, but its red light blinked faster. A signal was sent back to the council chambers and behind golden walls on the capital planet. Powerful figures sat in silence. One of them spoke. "He's forcing us into the light." Another replied, "Then turn it off. Remove him. Silence the colony." But others disagreed. "If we silence him now, we prove him right." The galaxy is watching. The debate started, and Sereth became the center of a storm that had no sky. Meanwhile, on the ground, a new visitor arrived. Rowan turned as a shuttle landed near the edge of the village. It bore no symbols, no flags. But when the door opened, Captain Mira stepped out. Gray streaks in her hair, a firm walk, and eyes that still burned with truth. Rowan ran to her. "You came." She nodded. "You were right. We left too soon. This time I'm staying." Lixa watched quietly. Another human. Another soldier. But this one came back without a uniform. Mira walked up to her. "I can't bring her back," she said softly. "But I can fight for the ones still here." Lixa nodded slowly. "That's all I ever asked." That night, they all gathered near the grave. Elri's grave now had flowers from 5 different planets, sent by strangers who had watched the story unfold. The glowing stone was joined by a plaque carved in both alien and human language. It read, "She died in silence, but now the stars speak her name." Rowan stood with Mira and Lixa. The children lit small lanterns and placed them around the field. The sky lit up with soft golden lights. The drone was still there, still recording, but it could not erase what had been seen. Far above, in places of power, they held their breath, waiting for the anger to fade. But it didn't, because one voice had become many, and many voices were now demanding more. Not just for Sereth, but for every forgotten world, every mother who cried alone, every child who waited for help that never came. And now the council had to make a choice: change or collapse. A garden where she slept. The sun rose slowly over Sereth, its light golden and warm. The wind was soft, carrying the smell of new soil and blooming flowers. Where once there was only dirt and silence, now there was life and color and hope. Captain Rowan stood near the edge of the field, his boots sinking slightly into the soft ground. Children were laughing in the distance, chasing each other between rows of young plants. The shelter had turned into a clinic, donated by a group from Terra 3 Supplies, kept arriving. Doctors came and stayed. Even volunteers from other species showed up. No more hiding, no more waiting for help that never came. Lixa walked up behind him, her cloak flowing gently in the wind. She looked around with calm eyes. "I never thought this land could feel warm again," she said softly. Rowan nodded. "Neither did I." They walked together to the cemetery, but it didn't look like a cemetery anymore. The ground had been reshaped. The graves now rested in a circle of blue grass. Alien flowers and earth roses grew together. In the center, Aelri's grave, no longer alone, no longer forgotten. A carved stone arch stood above it, covered in small charms and symbols sent from across the galaxy. Each one a message, each one a promise. Rowan knelt down, placed a new charm beside the stone. It was shaped like a tiny bird, wings spread wide, ready to fly. He looked up at Lixa. She's not gone. Not really. She changed more than she ever knew. Lixa smiled. Her smile was tired, but full of something soft. Peace Mira joined them quietly, holding a small data tablet. The council released a public statement this morning. She said they denied everything. But people are not listening anymore. She handed Rowan the tablet. He scrolled through the news. Hundreds of headlines, thousands of comments. Sereth colony receives global aid. Child's death sparks interplanetary reform. Captain Rowan and Lixa speak at Unity Summit Council. Faces pressure after cover-up exposure. They can try to spin the truth, Mira said. But it's too late. The voice is too loud. Now Rowan stood, his face calm. We didn't start a war. We started something bigger. We reminded the galaxy that lives matter, even the ones without power, even the ones without a voice. Lixa walked to her daughters. Grave. She knelt slowly, placing her hand on the stone. Aelri. She whispered, "You were small, but you were stronger than all of us." She stayed like that for a moment, then stood again. People from different planets began arriving that week, not as soldiers, but as friends, to help to build, to listen. A group of artists painted the shelter walls. One of them drew a large mural of Aelri, her eyes full of light, her hands open toward the stars. Children pointed at the painting, saying they wanted to be like her brave kind. Loud Mira took a job at the clinic helping organize supplies and medical data. She said it was better than retirement. Lixa began teaching, telling the story of Sereth's pain, but also its healing, and Rowan. He stayed. He turned down every offer from Earth to return. He gave up his title, his rank, his old life. He became part of the colony, not as a hero, not as a leader, just as someone who stayed. When others turned away, one evening, Rowan sat near the garden, watching the sky turn orange. Lixa sat beside him. "Do you regret it?" she asked. He shook his head. "Not even a little." He looked at the children playing near the edge of the field. They were stronger now, healthier. Free. Lixa leaned back on her hands. "The stars will remember this place. Now they won't forget again." Rowan looked up. The stars looked closer, somehow brighter, not because they had changed, but because the people below them had Aelri's name had reached across systems. Her story had touched lives, and her silence had become a voice louder than any command. That night, the garden glowed under moonlight. Flowers moved gently in the wind. Lanterns floated above the field, carrying soft lights into the sky, each one with a name, each one with a memory, and in the center of it, all one grave one girl who had slept beneath the stars while the galaxy learned to listen.